Welcome! This video contains an introduction, an interview so you can gain deeper understanding of the subject from spirit level, and a group frequency calibration so you can start to clear the frequency distortion patterns around this topic. Enjoy!
Hi everyone, this is Cheong, and I'm here with my co-host Dennis Kelly. There's a lot out there, way out in left field, that sounds intriguing. Stargates, portals, ajna activations, and aliens, to name a few. How much of this is really required or helpful in the awakening process? Today we're going to demystify some of the woo-woo and get down to what really accelerates us forward. After the discussion, we're going to wrap it up with a group frequency calibration to help begin to remove the distortion patterns around this topic. So let's get started. Dennis?
Karen, you talked about left field.
Yeah.
And, we're all seeking, we're all searching, we're all, different things. And so when you mention portals and entities and aliens, I really truly don't know a lot about those subject matters. Should I?
Well, I think it depends on the person. I would say it depends for what you want. For some people, that stuff is super fascinating and intriguing, right? Because there is a lot of us who are not from the Earth. We're actually star beings. So we're very fascinated about the place from where we come from.
So I'm going to ask you to stop right there.
Oh, okay.
So what's... now we're in left field.
Okay, here we go.
We got there rather quickly.
Okay.
So star being.
Yeah.
What would you say that is?
Yeah. So I'm going to further clarify. I'm going to go even bigger picture than that.
Okay.
So just for context. So a lot of beings want to be on the Earth at this time because we are going through a massive shift in consciousness. Not just us, the all that is going through a massive shift in consciousness. The difference between that happening somewhere else, for example, versus here is that we're embodied. So that's pretty cool. Right? So a lot of beings want to experience this shift of consciousness embodied. The intensity of it, the emotion of it, the forgetting of it, then the remembering, the forgetting of who we are, our true essence, and then the remembering of it, you see? Because that gives us tremendous momentum on the non-embodied or on spirit level, okay? So that is why a lot of beings want to come here. So I'm getting to your question. Okay, there are beings who are from here who are, so my point is just that there are beings from all over the place because they all want to come and enjoy. It's kind of like going to Disneyland. It's like you're kind of going for the ride, except for here the ride isn't a ride in Disneyland. It's actually the ride as a human body. Yeah. You get to experience the ride of life, I guess, to be a little bit cheesy, but it's true, right? Okay, so beings here are from different places. Okay, so some beings are from different star systems within the same dimensional plane as the Earth currently is right now, that we are in our current awareness, right? So meaning third dimensional, upper third. Some of us are beings from higher dimensional planes. Okay, so there's star beings, which are beings, again, from other star systems, other planetary systems within the same vibrational level of the third dimension. And then there are beings that are from higher dimensional planes, which means of a higher consciousness order. Okay? Not necessarily overlapping, quite different. A lot of the kids who are being born right now, who are special kids, are beings of much higher consciousness, are here to experience the embodiment, and during this time of consciousness waking, or accelerating, let's just say, and also to help that consciousness to rise just simply by being here, because they are of a higher resonating consciousness embodied, and they still have that higher level order. So it helps because we are all one, all of us, in the rise in consciousness. Does that make sense?
Can we talk about those children
Sure.
for just a second?
Absolutely.
Because there's a lot of parents
Yeah.
that have given birth to those children.
Yeah.
And they're kind of like, whoa.
Yeah.
Who are these kids?
Yeah.
They have a knowingness.
Yeah.
And just an extremely high level of awareness.
Yeah. And abilities.
And abilities.
Yeah.
So could you maybe just address the parents of those children for a minute? What would you encourage them as a parent?
Well, what I would say is Okay. There are some parents who have children who are special, who are very aware that their kids are special kids. Okay, they seem to have a wisdom about them. They find the process of being human fascinating and funny at the same time, and confusing often because they don't really get it. And these kids also have there's something about them that is of a higher level order. Okay, and a lot of these kids have awarenesses that are not quote unquote normal. So they perceive or feel or see or have an awareness of other realities than just ours. Oftentimes, whether it's in their dream space or consciously, they're aware of it. They're also aware of like much bigger picture stuff, and they are doing things that are not quote unquote normal. Okay, so what I mean by that, for example, is we have a number of friends with children who are like this. Yeah. And it's really hard for those kids to fit into regular society. It's really tough.
I was going to say the biggest challenge seems to be
the integration.
Well, kindergarten is now,
It's not just kindergarten, it's above that too.
Well, but before that, they had quite a bit of freedom and whatever. Now they're going into a very structured.
Yeah, school in general is hard for them.
Yeah.
And the thing is, most of the time these kids are sensitive. They don't often like other kids because they are aware of the frequencies behind them, so they can see what kids are. You know what I mean? Like oftentimes adults do this too. We say one thing and there's all this other stuff happening in the background, right? So these children are aware not only of other children but of adults. So meaning like the distortion patterns that are running through adults, they don't trust them, or they shut down around certain adults. It's because they're aware of what's happening. They just know something's wrong and they don't trust this person. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's hardest for those kids to integrate. What I will say is what I have noticed is these children really benefit from frequency work, really benefit. Because sometimes when they experience our reality, they're actually not very adjusted to being human. And there are things we can do on frequency level to help them integrate better with the human experience, which makes it easier for them to be with other children, for other children to be with them.
Wow.
It can help them have a better integration with what they perceive. So meaning some of these kids are seeing very dark realms. They can't help it. It's just kind of what they're able to do. And they're not making it up. It's very real. And they are seeing multiple realities at the same time, which, by the way, is totally terrifying. Okay? So if you can, on frequency level, adjust things so that they're not seeing all that dark stuff because it's not required for them necessarily to experience that, especially at that age, then they relax and they can be at ease and they don't see all this crazy stuff all the time. And they integrate much better, and all of a sudden now the world makes more sense and they can be with other children and that type of thing. So what I would say to parents with kids like that is that chances are your kid isn't crazy. Drugs aren't completely the answer because they're still going to have the things that they see. They still are going to perceive things really, the numbing doesn't matter. It's best to get help from another place. So meaning find somebody who can either work with them on frequency level or something to make an adjustment to them so that they can integrate. When I work with kids and other people who do frequency work, there are not that many of us, but there are a couple. And when we work with kids, like the change for them is so fast. It's so fast because they're not conditioned in the same way. And these kids don't have the same level of distortion that we do. They're different. Okay, so it's really easy for them to shift, which is really great. So they can go from being really almost ostracized or bullied in schools to having more ease and maybe not like loving school entirely, but actually what's happened for some of these kids is they get into schools or find pockets of friends that they can hang out with. Or they'll find a school where now the focus is on marine biology or whatever it is, and now they totally love it, and they have a passion that is grounded in this reality that they can relate to other kids with. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah. So their reality starts to shift, and it makes it easier for them and everyone else around them too. Yeah.
So what you just walked through, and thank you, that has to be tremendously comforting to the parents. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of them are, it's like they're scared. Mm-hmm. How as parents, what do we do? but also their fear for the child.
Yeah.
Because they know how challenging it is.
Yeah.
So I would think for them to connect with you and you be able to work with them as parents, but also with the child, would be amazing.
Yeah.
But also, like you said, is to start to recognize the fact that they're not the Lone Ranger.
Oh yeah, no.
There's a number of these kids coming.
Yeah.
And that is getting to be the new normal.
Yeah, and what's really cool is when the kids meet each other, they're like, hello. Someone who's like me. I mean, we're not the same, but you're like different, in some way, and that makes it easier for them to relate. It's really fun.
The frequency is there. And so that helps with the comfort level. And now I can at least have somebody I can relate to.
And what's cool is the kids who are special, or of this newer higher consciousness, who do the frequency work, are able to integrate more easily with being human, which then makes it easier for their peers who haven't had the frequency work, who have that higher consciousness too. They relax because they entrain to each other. So they're like, oh, okay, phew, okay, now I can also integrate because I'm following your energetic patterning. Okay, I know how to do that because I remember on some level. So I'm just going to do that, and it's going to be easier for me. There's a ripple effect to this, which is really cool.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that's tremendous. So,
cool.
So let's go back to left field.
Okay.
Is there anything else you would like to talk about in regard to kind of that, these other realms or these other, whatever it might be that people might find extremely fascinating? And I guess the reason I ask is that important for my personal journey as far as moving through, to higher levels of frequency?
To answer your question, no, it's not important. And what I would say is, so it's interesting. It can be distracting for some people because they can kind of go down this rabbit hole of, there's a whole bunch of stuff with regards to all the different alien races that are, who aren't very friendly towards human and sometimes want to exterminate them. So you can go down that rabbit hole, right? Like a lot of people know about the greys and the reptiles and the whatnots. But the thing what I would caution you with regards to that is those beings control through fear. So you have to be careful what you read because sometimes it's actually propagated by them to create more fear. So just be aware of that. And yes, they exist, and yes, they are out there. Okay, so the other thing that I'll say is with regards to this kind of world, with regards to like portals and stargates, these are very real. They exist. There are places on the earth where you can actually go to and that are portals to different star realms. I myself have activated certain portals and stargates. It's been part of my function to do this. So they are real. Okay? They are there to, some of them, to activate higher levels of consciousness to support the earth at this time. Okay? The consciousness of humanity at this time to rise up. Right? We can talk about that more in a different segment. So all that stuff is real. There's a lot of like hoopla around it in the sense like you really need this in order to ascend. You don't. Yeah. It's interesting, but you don't. Yeah. And the thing is, you're here in a human body. You've elected to come here. It's actually a tremendous, amazing privilege to be here in a human body at this time, even though it doesn't feel like it all the time. I understand that too. And if, again, it always comes back to this, if you can transcend the illusion of humanity, of this humanness that we are separate from, that we are going to, this is our one chance or one life, whatever, that we're disconnected from the divine, if you can rise above that extraordinarily difficult to get over illusion, that is massive on spirit level. Okay, massive. Okay, so that's really why we're here. Yeah. And so all that other stuff, that's interesting, but it's not critical to the piece that I just mentioned.
Fantastic.
Okay, so, but the people who are the most interested in all this stuff are probably people who are from these different star realms and they're trying to remember home, right? So they're curious. And so that's totally fine. What I'd also like to say about star beings, okay, for many of you who are watching who don't associate sometimes it's very hard for you to be human. People laugh, it's funny. It's hard, okay? So just imagine that it's like going to, you don't speak the language, you're like 5 and you get put into like grade school in a different country, everyone looks different from you, you don't understand what's happening, and now you gotta adjust. It kind of just sucks, right? You're just like, whoa, this sucks. That's what it's like for some people who are not from the earth realm, who come in as star beings. It's that disconcerting, okay? So I'm going to back up even further. When we come into embodiment, there are global settings, okay, that inform how we render or how we show up as humans, okay? And we talk about rendering in a different segment. So if you want to learn about rendering, watch the segment on time, okay? I'll talk about it more there. Anyway, when you come into embodiment, there are global settings, like I mentioned. And the first setting is human, obviously, right? Coming into form as a human. That seems obvious, but it's not, that's the first one. Then after that, it's male, female. There are beings here who have distortion at the level of human. It sucks. Right out of the gate. You're just like, oh, distortion.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and it's really tough for them, right? They have a really hard time associating with people. They have a hard time with emotion. They always kind of feel like their lives kind of suck, or like it's really hard for them to be in the humanness, in the density, in the form, okay? So if you can remove the distortion pattern at that setting, it changes the game for them. Yeah. It really does. And things like time are really hard for people who don't have that setting. I'm going to back up even further. A lot of people, when they come from different places, okay, I realize this is going to be, like I said, we're way out here in left field, but here we are. So depending where you're from, so let's just imagine you're from a certain star system, okay? And there's only 4 other beings from your star system here. There's not a lot of information going on in terms of transfer of information from those 4 people to you. Just imagine, like, this is like, I don't know, whatever, like 1920, and there's an immigration group coming from one part of Europe into the United States, and they don't know anything about the United States. They don't know what to bring, they don't know what to wear, they don't know what the people are like, they don't know. So they get here and it's kind of a mess because they don't know how to integrate, right? There's no information. Yeah. But now they've been here, and now they have kids here, and more people move here, and now there's like, 30 or 40 of them here, right? So now if anybody new comes over, they can tell them, oh, be sure to pack this, you don't need this, be sure that you learn this when you come here, right? There's like a little package of information that comes and is given to those people. So when they come to the United States, they're just like, oh, I have some awareness of how to integrate into the culture a little bit better because someone else has told me. Similarly, it's the same for star beings. So so backing up to that previous example, where say you come from a place where the star beings, there's like 4 other beings like you, or a dimensional plane where there's like 2 of you here, okay? It's really tough because there's not a lot of information transfer. If you're from somewhere, like a star system, like, I don't know, the Pleiades or something like this, where there's like tons of you from there, then there's a lot more information transfer. So those of you who journey through the Pleiades will know, oh, well, this is how it is to be human, and it's easier for you to integrate. Make sense? You don't have as many distortion at the human setting, at that global setting of human. For a lot of people who come here and they don't have this sense of information, like literally they're missing parts of the like how to be human manual, like literally chunks of it missing. So on frequency level, you can fill in those bits. You can reset them into time properly, so they're not so at war with time. You can help them be okay with being in a human body. A lot of them really miss home, and it's really lonely for them here. So how do you, right? So you can adjust all that on frequency level, and then everything changes. Because then it's like, oh, okay, I can start to handle being in this new place that I'm not familiar with.
So Karen, I'm curious, when you connect with these people from different realms, can you immediately recognize their frequency and that it's quite different?
Pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Sometimes, okay, so I don't dictate what order we do things in, right? Your higher self is the one that dictates the order in which we remove the distortion patterns. For some of them, we have to do some other things first before we can get to this level. Some of them, it's like right off the bat, okay, whoa, we got to deal with this right now, okay? And so it really depends, but often, yes.
So I would think, Karen, that it would be extremely, just a wonderful feeling for these folks to be comforted by the fact that they have found a resource that they can connect with.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing that I'll just say too is like, there's all these things like Lionsgate activation and Ajna activations and something else portal and whatever and whatnot. And there's all this like cool stuff out there, right? So I'm not saying it's not cool. It's awesome. And I mean, there's a vast infinite universe out there, right? So of course there's all this neat stuff out there, right? But what I will say is that it's really only those things are most beneficial for the beings who are from that particular place. Does that make sense? Relate to it. Yeah. So, and depending on where there may not be that many of you, right? So some of you will get some really great stuff from it because you'll feel a resonance of home. And for most of you, it's like, meh. You know, you're kind of like, oh, I don't really, you know, it didn't really do that much. Yeah. So just so you know, it's not like there's something wrong with you. Yeah. It's just that it's kind of like, I don't know, like if it's a certain form of music from that place that only resonates with, or like a certain fruit or food that they eat that they're used to, right? And then all of a sudden you're exposed to it. And for them, it reminds them of home, right? That music, that food, they're like, oh, that's the same as like being, you know what I mean? Like being home. But for other people, they're like, oh, I don't understand why you're so excited about that. It's the same extrapolated, right? In terms of these activations, stargates, whatnot. It tends to resonate and work best for those from that place. So it's not really required for everyone, is my point.
Very good. So Karen, we spent a lot of time left field. It's really exciting, and thank you so much for your insight. Karen, could you help me? I hear so often when I look at your video or your website, GFC. Exactly what is that?
A GFC is a group frequency calibration, which looks a lot like a guided meditation on a particular topic. And what I'm doing is I'm helping you to remove the distortion patterns of that particular topic. And because you're coming together as a mastermind in a group to connect to pure source even more and to clear the distortion patterns of this particular topic, what happens is a tremendous amount of momentum starts to happen because of the energetic of the entire group. And each individual is able to move faster and ascend higher than they could have on their own.
Welcome everyone to the Group Frequency Calibration on Starbound, What You Need to Know. First, for this GFC, it's very important for you to become aware of your bodies. Okay, because there are a number of you on this call who don't like your bodies or are uncomfortable with them. That being said, you can still be aware of them. Okay, we'll address the previous 2 points later on in the GFC, but for now, becoming aware of your body. Noticing the position of your feet. Are your feet always in this position? Yep. And noticing the weight of your head. And noticing whether your head is directly in line with your spine or if it's further forward or backwards, or how is your head in relation to the rest of your body as you become aware of its weight. And now please become aware of your breath, the quality of your breath in this moment, without changing it yet or judging it. Just observe your breath as it is right now in its more habituated state. Chances are it has already shifted a bit since you've put your attention on it. Noticing that, meaning whether it did shift or not. Yeah. And now taking this opportunity to deepen your breath. To allow it to become full, slower. Good. Now please become aware of your surroundings. Some of you can feel the quality of the light around you. Some of you will need to open your eyes to notice the quality of the light. Winter light is very different from summer light. The time of the day, the light is different. Noticing the quality of the light. And if you're in artificial light, Notice that too. And becoming aware of the ambient sounds, in addition to the sound of my voice, both on your end and on my end. Good. And now becoming aware of the space between your heart and the base of your sternum. And to be clear, I don't mean your physical heart. I mean your heart space in the center of your chest, in your nipple line. From your heart space all the way down to the base of your sternum. Your sternum is that big, thick bone in the center of your chest, where your ribs meet in front of your body. So at the base of that, and as you become aware of this space, we're going to take a single deep breath together. Inhaling, holding your breath in for a count of 5. And whenever you're ready, releasing your breath and holding it out for a count of 5. Yep. And for those of you with a faster count, keeping your attention on that space between your heart and the base of your sternum, breathing normally. For those of you who are new, as we're waiting for the mastermind to coalesce and become coherent, please note that I am working on you at the group and the subgroup level. And that I'll be making noises on my end, so you'll likely hear me exhale sharply, hum, or even yawn, even though I'm not tired. That's just how I remove the distortion patterns at this time. And I'm working more and more in silence. So if you don't hear me, please know that I'm still working on you. There we go. So now that the mastermind has coalesced, bringing your attention, please, to your belly button all the way to the base of your sternum, so your solar plexus. And as you have your attention on your solar plexus, breathing normally, we're going to go ahead and ask ourselves the following question. How can I become even more aware of my connection only to pure source? And as you ask yourself that question, please imagine, sense, feel, or become aware of the very, very center of your body. And as you become aware of this space, please notice or imagine a brilliance at its very core. Brilliance did not necessarily mean a visual sense of light. It could also mean a tingliness, a shimmeriness in the blackness, a warmth. However it shows up for you is fantastic. And because you have your attention on it, it begins to intensify. And as it intensifies, it expands outwards through all of your cells, through your bone structure, out through all your organs, expanding out through your flesh, out through the pores of your skin into the space between your physical body and your outer perimeter of your spirit body, which is a sphere at arm's length all around you. Becoming extremely aware of the brilliance within the sphere. And now, please become aware of the space around the sphere. And as you become aware of the infiniteness of this space, I'm working on you at spirit level to increase your frequency vibration so that this session can be the most effective possible, because it's coming from the highest resonating order. Bringing your attention now, please, to your upper ribs, between your heart space and your collarbones. So the first distortion pattern we're going to remove is the tendency to want to move away from the body, okay? So this tendency to want to move out and explore beyond the body, which is, there's nothing wrong with exploration, okay? The challenge is when we become if we disdain the body or dislike the body or resist the body, all that sort of stuff, it can be very difficult for us to be in time. And therefore, when we're not in time, and what I mean by time is in the very center point of the present moment, when you're not in that space or that time, you're basically at a much worse point for co-creating your reality, which can lead to a low level of anxiety or stress, even though you don't really know why. Okay? So we're removing from almost all of you this unease with or discomfort with, resistance to the body. And there is a small subgroup of you that has a disdain for, or this is too strong of a word, but anyway, disgust or looks down on humans. Okay? You think they're not very evolved, they're often dumb, they make repeated mistakes that are the same, etc. Okay? They can be abusive, controlling, or over-emotional. That's another thing that some of you have challenge with. Okay? So releasing all this, irrespective of what subgroup you're in, good. Now bringing your attention, please, to your heart space, to your solar plexus, which is between your belly button and the base of your sternum, and to your lower belly. So 3 points: heart space, solar plexus, and lower belly, which is between your pubic bone and your belly button. So as you bring your attention to this space, we're going to remove this distortion pattern of feeling outside of. Okay? Different, excluded, uncomfortable with other, etc. We're going to pull this out, the not quite belonging. Bringing your attention now, please, to the front of your throat. So from the hollow of your throat all the way up to where your throat and your chin meet. So in this space, okay, there is a discomfort with or a distrust of time. The way it works here in this space-time reality. Okay? I'm speaking of linear time. So we're going to remove this so you have a little bit more ease. Mm-hmm. Yep. Better. Bringing your attention, please, to your collarbones and about 3 inches or 3 finger widths, beneath them. Okay? So running parallel to your collarbones. Yeah. And for some of you, you're also going to bring your attention to your inner ear as it drops from your ear all the way down into your throat. Okay? And you'll know if it's you, if you're particularly sensitive to noise, okay? Or if you get ear infections regularly, or you can't focus around noise. Right? It just takes up all your attention. Right? So if you're falling in those camps, then bring your attention also to the inner ear. Okay? Yeah. All right. So this has to do with clarity around what your I'm not going to say end outcome, but like what it is that you're hoping for. Okay, so there's a lot of information about star beings, star systems, different aliens, etc. in this dimensional plane. There's a lot about, interstellar war, etc. It can be very easy to get caught up in this. As we move in consciousness level to higher levels of consciousness, you skip over all this stuff. Right? Because just because they're not from here, they're still of this dimensional plane. So there still is war, there still is control, there still is abuse, there still is fear. As you move up in dimensional planes, that starts to shift. Okay? So getting clarity for yourself about what is really important to you. What is intriguing to you? Is it the fact that all these beings are just not from here, and that's interesting and exciting to you, right? All these different portals from one stargate to another, etc. Or are you looking to awaken into a higher level consciousness order? So giving yourself some clarity here of what it is that you want to move towards. It may be both for now, but this clarity is helpful in your journey to help you suss out what's most important to you. Good. Bringing your attention now, please, to your xiphoid process, and about 3 inches or 7 centimeters directly beneath it towards your belly button. Okay, just working on clearing out, resetting, and integrating your pain body. Good. This brings us to the end of this session. I look forward to working with you on the next GFC. These GFCs help people release distortion patterns. It's my sincere hope that you benefit profoundly from this series, which is why I spend so much of my personal resources creating these as my gift to the world. If a GFC topic resonates with you, often more work that can be provided in this one GFC is needed to really clear or loosen deeply held distortion patterns in areas that are sticky. Because these patterns are like layers of an onion, usually there are multiple layers to individual topics. Depending on how much of a challenge this topic is for you, it may make sense for you to go deeper than what this session allows. If you feel this is the case for you, please visit sphericalluminosity.com for more targeted support.